New Zealand unveiled a proposal on Wednesday to put a price on methane from burping sheep and cattle, a move that, if implemented, would make the country the first to make farmers pay for livestock emissions. New Zealand has a population of somewhat more than 5 million people, as well as approximately 10 million cattle and 26 million sheep. Agriculture produces over half of the country's total greenhouse gas emissions, primarily methane. Agricultural emissions, on the other hand, had historically been excluded from New Zealand's carbon trading plan, which has been criticized by those pressing for the government to do more to combat global warming. There is no doubt that we need to reduce the amount of methane we emit into the atmosphere, and an effective emissions pricing system for agriculture will play a critical role in achieving that, said New Zealand's Climate Change Minister, James Shaw. Farmers would be required to pay for emissions beginning in 2025, with the proceeds going to agricultural research, development, and advisory services. Farmers can reduce emissions by supplementing livestock feed with additives that assist ruminants release less methane, such as seaweed, or by planting trees to offset their carbon output. The new plan includes incentives for such measures, which might assist New Zealand in meeting its goal of reducing methane emissions from agriculture and waste by 24 to 27% by 2050. After carbon dioxide, methane is the second most common greenhouse gas. It is one of the most potent, accounting for 1/3 of the present warming caused by human activity. Individual methane molecules warm the atmosphere more powerfully than single CO2 molecules. At last year's COP26 Environmental Summit in Glasgow, the United States and the European Union agreed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 30% by 2030. More than 100 countries have signed on to the effort, including New Zealand. Andrew Hogood, a dairy farmer and the national president of Federated Farmers of New Zealand, told the BBC that he supported the suggestions in general. "We've been working with the government and other organizations on this for years to get an approach that won't shut down farming in New Zealand, so we've signed off on a lot of stuff we're happy with. But like all of these types of agreements with many parties involved, there's always going to be a couple of dead rats you have to swallow," he added. Mr. Hogood also stated that the plan's implementation details have yet to be finalized. This is a very important issue for farmers in New Zealand as global demand for higher levels of sustainability in products is increasing, so there is significant potential for competitive advantage in this area if done effectively. The effectiveness of such a scheme is entirely possible and proved already in the country. Last month, New Zealand's finance minister committed $2.9 billion New Zealand dollars to climate change projects, which would be funded through an emissions trading scheme that taxed polluters. Although New Zealand is the first to act on food sustainability in this way specifically, it is following a global trend with sustainability in food systems. Last week, investors with $14 trillion in assets under management urged the United Nations to develop a global plan to make agriculture sustainable. The FARR initiative said in a letter to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization's Director General that the agency was best placed to take the lead on developing a roadmap to reduce one of the major sources of climate-damaging emissions. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to see more.